Alrighty everyone, welcome back. As we get closer to The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 22, a lot of fans are really expecting what's to come out of Jon and Dave, with the Ahsoka Tano series by, of course, Disney and Lucasfilm, and given that the executives, by the way, keep on dubbing the show as the home run for Disney+, we've talked about this before in the past, about how they do want to make the Ahsoka show the new flagship series over The Mandalorian eventually. That's their overall end game with Ahsoka. That's exactly why they greenlit it for a Season 2 already beforehand, with the opportunity to make it into a multi-season show beyond that, of course. Now, with that being said, we all know that Jon and Dave are also really cherry-picking a lot of aspects from Star Wars Legends. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, the thing about Kathleen Kennedy is that there's been a lot of meetings that have been taking place by Disney executives and the board about how they truly want to go about firing her. We already know that Bob Iger made this big pitch a couple of months ago. We talked about this, of how he wants to cover it up that she's going to be stepping down, when in reality she's getting fired, in order to prevent all the headlines and really, showing any kind of sign of defeat. That's how Bob Iger, sees everything here. That's how he sees, of course, the fandoms. He doesn't want to do that. And basically, it is a golden parachute for Kathleen Kennedy with her severance deal, earning roughly $25 to $30 million just for her exit and to get laid off. And on top of that, Bob Iger made that proposal to the board to cover it up that she's stepping down even though she's getting fired in reality. Well, the latest here, what's really intriguing, has a lot to do with some of the Disney executives getting into a shakeup with others about the Kathleen Kennedy firing plan. Now, right now, Disney executives are beginning to hold many meetings over how to handle the Kathleen Kennedy termination, with the latest drama that's been going around between different executives. Now, just recently, Disney held a very important meeting related to Kennedy in a recent shakeup between executives. Right now, there are many executives calling for Disney to give Kathleen Kennedy one last chance to prove herself to stay at Lucasfilm and to wait and see how Indy 5 performs. These executives that are loyal to Kathleen Kennedy are attempting to convince other ones that if Indy 5 is to perform very well at both the box office and through fan reception, that she should stay at Lucasfilm. The other executives, however, are fighting this pitch already and are refusing that, since they are now getting ready to drop Indiana Jones content as well as Willow material altogether to strictly focus on Star Wars, and they have not been impressed with her work on that franchise so far. With the Indiana Jones series, I should say, getting cancelled, of course, officially speaking, and no longer a focus. That's not to be confused, by the way, with the Indy 5 movie. That is not getting cancelled. It's the series. Now, with the Willow series also axed, Kennedy is still likely to get fired regardless of the recent shakeup between executives. Now, let me stop right here for 1 second. Now, we all know that Willow performed terribly when it came to fan reception. It did not do well at all. That was another Lucasfilm dedicated project that was supposed to be a multi-season type of thing, and it never even saw the light of day going past the first one. The thing about the Indiana Jones series, that also got axed and is not moving forward. They're just relying on the Indy 5 movie right now, and that's it. They want to strictly focus on Star Wars and Star Wars alone, because they know it needs a lot of work. And that's true, it does need a lot of work. That's why they have Jon and Dave getting heavily involved with other creators as well to help them out with all these upcoming Star Wars shows. Now, with the exception of, everything that has been happening in the past couple of years, we know that Bob Iger realizes that there's a lot to build up from when it comes to Star Wars, and now even Marvel a little bit. And we're going to be getting into Marvel in just a second and how this does involve Kathleen Kennedy. This might come across as a bit of a shocker, but on top of this, alright, we know that Kathleen Kennedy is trying to make the big move as well to her own production studio, currently dubbed Starlight Productions. By the way, that's not the official name of the production company, it's a placeholder, it's just an overall code name, so to speak. And what it will ultimately be called, who knows? But this is basically going to be her way of competing against other franchises. We'll talk about that in 1 second. Now, beyond that, Bob Iger is not changing his mind over this after all. However, surprisingly, Kennedy has expressed interest in joining a Marvel project since she is good friends with Kevin Feige and does not want to retire from the film industry at all. She too is also working on her own production studio to focus on sci-fi material to compete against the three big ones: Star Wars, Dune, and Star Trek. With Indy 5 recently going through some last-minute reshoots and reportedly delivering a controversial ending for fans that's being tweaked, Disney has become a bit less confident in the film. With Dana Brunetti now still the top of the list to become the new Lucasfilm president to run all things Star Wars, since he is also, of course, a true Star Wars fan, Disney wants him in control. And you know what? That is a good move, by the way. The fact that they want somebody who is a Star Wars fan to run all things Star Wars, it only makes sense. Back to Kathleen Kennedy, and this is coming off as a surprise. The fact that she wants to move to Marvel, and that this has been a discussion between herself and the Disney executives. Now, though they do want to fire her from Lucasfilm, this has also nothing to do with preventing her from joining anything else. But you would think if you're firing her from Lucasfilm, why on earth would you want her to get involved in Marvel at all? It's just beyond me. I have no idea why that would even be a conversation, but that's just me. Who knows if she would even ever make the move, but it is an interest in hers right now. Between that and the new production studio and stuff like that, she does not want to give up on the film industry at all, period. Now, when you look at Kathleen Kennedy, she may very well become one of those, Hollywood producers that is still going to be working till like she's 80, 85 years old, and, just doing her thing. But, you know what? When you look at Lucasfilm, yes, Disney realizes that much change is needed. You need new leadership. Even Bob Iger teased this just a couple of days ago about new leadership is much needed sometimes in the film industry to really evolve your brand into something new and better. And I think that obviously Star Wars does need better leadership. It really does, because with everything that has been going on between the ACOLYTE and Skeleton Crew, those are two big telltales about how pretty much, Kathleen Kennedy takes no responsibility at all for the fandom and for the cast and the crew, the production issues, the delays, doing unauthorized reshoots, all these different things. We've talked about this many times. And Bob Iger is just sitting there with the executives trying to really figure out the best way to go about handling this. Now, again, like I said, these executives that are pushing for Kennedy to stay are begging the other ones that if Indy 5 performs very well and that if fans love it, that she should stay over at Lucasfilm. Something tells me that this movie is not going to be all that satisfying, all that well received by the fans. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but based on what we have heard with Indy 5, it's not looking like it's going to be the best movie out there, but who knows. Anyways, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you guys have to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to morning.